I ain't never come up. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How do I sound? George, you let me know. You let me know. How do I sound? Yes, sir, I can hear you. Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Well, happy Friday and welcome to your 4 to 5. I'm Lauren Coleman here with Amanda Ferguson and Eric Chilton today. How's it going?
It's great. My last day being on 4 to 5.
Well, we certainly enjoyed having you here.
But it's great. It's great being here with you all at home too.
We've definitely enjoyed having you here today. And also, Eric, we're going to get started with you because you're tracking some storms across the Triad.
Yeah, you know, it's been up and down. I mean, if you've been watching the weather over the last 24 to 48 hours, you know it's just all over the place. We'll get heavy rains 1 minute with thunderstorms, next minute pretty much nothing. And get used to that. It's going to stick around for another day or so. When you take a look at our radar presentation now earlier, if you looked at this about 2.5 hours ago, it was lit up. We were seeing thunderstorms everywhere, all over the place. And when you take a look at the most recent readings here, it's died down a good bit. Look how strong it was in northern Forsyth County earlier, and also in Rockingham County. They were seeing heavy showers. In fact, at one point we were looking at flash flood warnings up that way. All of this is drifting to the east. Burlington seeing a little bit of the heavier showers at this hour, and that's been all over the place in Alamance County as well. So if you live in that neck of the woods, just be advised that that could happen. It's starting to die down a little bit in Stokes County and Surrey, but one more little hiccup here moving toward the Elkin area and maybe northern parts of Wilkesboro and North Wilkesboro. Still have some flash flood warnings until about 5:45 tonight. That would be for Yadkin County and also Stokes County. And then all of those counties and everything from Wilkes County north, except for Forsyth and Guilford, that's a flash flood watch until midnight tonight. So we'll be watching for that. The problem with this is that whatever we get, if they're not moving very fast, so it would sit over you and rain for a period of time. Last night, several different thunderstorm cells just sat over parts of Randolph County, and we had about 4.5 inches of rain there. These muggy conditions will continue as we head into your Saturday, but some relief on the way in the form of this cold front backing across the area. Even though we may have a 30% chance of late day showers and storms on Saturday, your high temperatures may only be in the upper 70s and close to 80 degrees. We're going to talk about our 7-day forecast. There is a lot of relief in sight, and we think you're going to like it for next week. We'll have that coming up in just a bit.
All right, thank you, Eric. Well, our top story today, questions about the North Carolina vaccine lottery. Governor Cooper announced your shot at $1 million yesterday. It's a new incentive to get more people vaccinated, and a lot of people still have questions about it, so we're answering some of the big ones today, starting with children eligible to get the vaccine. Will my child get a chance to win $1 million? Well, we'll let Governor Cooper explain the rules.
North Carolinians 18 and over who get vaccinated or have already been vaccinated will be automatically entered. North Carolinians from 12 to 17 who've gotten at least one shot are automatically entered into 4 drawings to pay $125,000 for college education at a school of their choice.
Another big question we've been getting, do you qualify for the lottery if you got your vaccine in a different state? Well, unfortunately, the answer is no. If you look closely at the eligibility requirements listed by the state, it says a person must have received their vaccine in the state of North Carolina, and you have to be a resident. So this means no one who traveled from out of state to North Carolina to get the vaccine will be included in this lottery. But it also means if you left the state to get the vaccine, you won't be included either.
If you get your first shot anytime from now through August, you'll be entered twice. If your child gets their vaccine between now and the August date, they'll be entered twice to earn the scholarship. If you already got the shot before the governor's announcement, how do you enter into the drawing, or how do you sign up? Well, you don't have to do anything. The state is automatically entering anyone who has already received their vaccine.
So here's another question that we've gotten. When will the drawings be? So the first drawing is this month on the 23rd. Drawings will take place every other week on Wednesdays until August 4th. August 4th is the last drawing date. So there are only going to be 4 adult winners for the cash prize and then 4 child winners for the scholarship funds. And then last month, the state announced it was also giving away $25 cash cards if you got your first vaccine or if you even drove someone to get that appointment. And the pilot program was tested in 4 counties, so that's including Guilford and Rockingham counties. Governor Cooper said the cash card program did well, and the state will expand it to other counties as well. Dr. Mandy Cohen explains the cash card program is to help cover any expenses someone may face if they maybe had to take off of work or to drive someone to that appointment.
That is part of us all working together on it. We're really excited about how those 4 counties went and what we've seen, particularly from an equity perspective, making sure we're reaching underserved communities, our African American, our Latinx, Hispanic, and our Native American populations, that it's really worked well for those communities. And again, it's not surprising, those are folks who do have to take the time off from work and have more challenges with transportation.
So the state is doing this lottery because our vaccine numbers, they are leveling. Leaders want everyone protected from this virus, and getting the vaccine gives you a stronger chance of protecting yourself and your loved ones.
Governor Cooper and leaders understand life gets busy, but taking an hour out of your day could save your life or your neighbors.
A lot of people are not opposed to getting a shot, but simply have a busy life, don't realize its importance to themselves and their families. And we are seeing in other states the things that have motivated people to say, okay, I was going to do that anyway. Hey, maybe I can win $1 million, or maybe I'll get this $25 cash card. So whatever motivates people, we want to do what works, because it's not only important for that person and the family, but it's important for our entire state.
Governor Cooper extended our state's executive order until July 30th. The order gives us access to federal funds like the money granted to the state through the CARES Act. Money for plans such as the American Rescue Plan to fund rent and utility assistance. And the city of Greensboro used that money from its emergency rental assistance program to help families recover their rent and utilities. 1,000 homes have been assisted thanks to these funds, totaling more than $4 million in aid. The city is also getting $7 million in additional funds through the American Rescue Plan. The application process will be the same. 2 Wants to Know's Tanya Rivera will explain more on the application process and money tonight at 6. And get help filing for rent and utility assistance this weekend if you need it. Winston-Salem is hosting an application fair at the Benton Convention Center from 9 to 1 on Saturday. The Emergency Rental Assistance Program helps cover rent and utilities. To qualify, you must have been impacted by the pandemic economically and have a household income of 80%. Make sure to bring a photo ID, proof of income, a leasing agreement, eviction notice, or proof of financial hardships.
The Carolina hurricane season came to an end this week, but the CANIACS are just getting a special project underway, helping a fellow fan and her family.
Please welcome 12-year-old Emma Izzo.
Meet Emma Izzo.
She has an energy and a joy that just kind of radiates from her, and it captures people's attention.
A 12-year-old Carolina Hurricanes fan.
She's really just a true joy and a blessing.
Emma's parents have been coming to Canes games for 24 years, since the inaugural season here in Greensboro.
We became instant fans.
Naturally, Emma became a fan too, eventually capturing Jordan Martinook's heart.
My mom has worked with adults with disabilities my entire life. It's just part of who I am. I've always been drawn to people with Down syndrome just because they're so awesome. And then I seen Emma, and she had her skates on, and she was right on the edge, and I had to go over and see her just because how can you not when you her face just lights up.
She started calling him her buddy.
I love him.
She'd come to the glass in warm-ups, and I'd always wave at her.
Canes fans seeing their interactions.
It was an awareness. I was like, oh my gosh, that is the sweetest thing I've ever seen in my life.
A stranger, but fellow Caniac, Crystal Speaks Strohecker, getting on Facebook, starting a conversation.
Somebody had made the comment that, the Canes should give her season tickets. And I said, well, why should they? We're family. Family does for each other.
The Caniacs gravitating towards Emma, sending donations to give her and her family season tickets.
It kind of became 11 games with 2 seats, and then it became 22 games with 4 seats. And now we're looking at full season for 4 seats.
It was a hard thing for me to accept because I love giving to people, not necessarily taking. But this was a gift that they insisted they wanted to do.
Kind of reminds you of what humanity can do.
We've been overwhelmed, really. I mean, a simple thank you just doesn't cover it.
Such a great story.
Beautiful.
Yeah, this initiative is called CANIACS for Emma, and they're trying to send her to games. And they've started this just 2 weeks ago. Wow. They've already raised $11,000, and obviously sometimes you can't go to all the games, and if they can't, they're going to send other special needs families to the games.
It's incredible. The best shot for me was the hand against the glass, and then his head. That is the best picture in that whole thing.
I was going to say the same thing when he was signing her shirt and touching her hand across the glass. I'm sure that really just made her entire day. Even just, something as small as that.
And this relationship between Emma and Jordan will be one that sticks with them and lasts forever. It's just a beautiful thing to see. And I was so glad to see the Canes family and the CANIAC family rallying behind this cause and making it happen for this family.
You know, it motivates the team.
Yeah.
I mean, when that little girl shows up at every game, that's motivation for them to do the best they can. I mean, I think it's a two-way street.
Yeah, it's like, we got to do it for Emma.
And like I said, it's only been 2 weeks, so they're hoping that it's going to keep growing and growing. I mean, the season's over now, but the season, when it starts, all these people are going to try to go to games, or they want to send more people to games with the money they raise.
They need to come up with like a cool name like Emma's Crew, and then
Yeah.
it's
There you
always
go,
given
Eric.
out to families, and
I
I
love
love that.
And then hopefully it'll turn into a nonprofit. That's their goal.
That's perfect.
Love to see
That's
Emma
amazing.
and other children with disabilities be able to get this experience and have a great time at the Canes games.
Very true. Nice piece.
Great
Amanda. Thank
job,
you.
Great
Amanda.
job.
That was awesome.
We're coming right back. Stay there. More of the 4 to 5 ahead.
It was a food truck, now it's a restaurant.
Is there, dad named Ben or something?
No, their granddad. Yeah. Yeah. I can hear you. I can hear you, yeah. Yeah, or not at the top, just take it on the second side. Thanks.
Well, starting a business in the middle of a pandemic might not sound like a recipe for success, but for the team at BOYZ Food Truck, the last 9 months have gone just as planned. WFMY News 2's Jalen Gilkey has more on what's cooking for their next step.
Well, from October 2020 to present day, BOYZ went from food truck to a brick and mortar restaurant in one of the most premium locations in Greensboro, the Old Wolfgang Pucks and Friendly Center. Owner Joe Wyatt knows this success hasn't come by accident.
It feels good. It feels good. I think that, I don't, just throw my, personal faith and religion around. But I think that when God has something for you, and definitely, when you're walking in your own vision, things will fall in place for you.
For Joe Wyatt and the team at BOYZ Premium Comfort Foods, these last 9 months have been a challenge, but nothing they couldn't overcome.
Anytime that you're faced with adversity, and we had to wear masks, we had to create new procedures, we had to make sure that we were protecting each other, it makes you really hone in to your skills.
And those skills took the team from a food truck to open up a brick and mortar restaurant at the beginning of this month.
The Greensboro TRIAD community has done so much for us. We just felt like it was a privilege to try to do something for them.
But this is just the next step for BOYZ, not their last.
We're looking for the future. we're always looking to make sure that the BOYZ brand is long-term and sustaining.
Joe and his team aren't all about food, they're all about Greensboro in the TRIAD. So much so, they have local authors, artists, and musicians pieces all for sale inside as well.
Plus that, where they're located, that's great real estate right there because you get a ton of traffic around there.
I like this idea of them promoting other local artists and businesses because I feel like that's going to help them grow. It's going to definitely drive more people to come check them out.
And like Joe was saying, they're all about the TRIAD. Their family is from here. They've been here for a very, very long time. And so they want to show the city that they support the city as much as the city has been our area has been supporting them as well.
Now, do they have a history in, like, is that what he has done most of his life, or is this a new career for him?
So his father is actually Will from Sid Wills. So they branched off. Now they have their own spot in our Friendly Center.
It's funny, you learn that for like a family business, you know, when you learn that firsthand, eventually you end up going back to what you learned,
It's just nice seeing another business open up because we've done so many stories about people having to close because of the pandemic, and it's nice to see that they're just excelling in this venture.
And I mean, I cannot wait. I think I got my mind made up. I'm gonna make a visit back tomorrow and grab me a plate and see what it's talking about.
So they're open, right?
They're open.
Okay.
They're ready for business.
I'll put that on my list to go check
right.
out as well.
So put that on the iPad right now.
Put it on the iPad.
Put it down there.
Got it.
All right, we're coming back. Stay right there.
Let's get to some of your headlines with your 4 to 5 roundup. An Arkansas mother is suing a state trooper for negligence after he used his police car to flip her car during an attempted traffic stop. Now, she claims the trooper used a PIT maneuver in July of 2020 to pull her over for speeding, but then she flipped her car. After the crash, she told police she wanted to find a safe place to pull over, and that's why she hadn't stopped immediately. The lawsuit argues there were no exits or shoulders for her to pull over. U.S. regulators granted permission to release 10 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine from a Baltimore factory that had to toss product to make the vaccine because of contamination. The FDA announced 2 batches from the plant could be used, and several others are under review. Roughly 100 million doses at the factory were set aside for testing after factory employees accidentally contaminated a batch. And Vice President Kamala Harris spent her Friday highlighting the Biden administration's child care expansion efforts. The vice president discussed new guidance on $15 billion in grants to support child care programs, the child tax credit, and a separate credit to help parents pay for child care. And the administration officials say several million families will benefit from the aid, and it will help parents get back to work and boost the economy. And a new Alzheimer's drug could raise Medicare premiums for patients. A new research report claims that newly approved drug would create co-payments of $11,500. Adulam is its first Alzheimer's medicine in nearly 20 years. It does not cure the condition, but the FDA determined the drug helps reduce clumps of plaque in the brain to help slow dementia. But experts worry that benefit has not been completely determined by data.
Well, a couple of hours ago, heavier thunderstorms moving through. We're getting a little bit of a break right now. You can see in the sky cam now, it looks fairly calm, at least there in Greensboro, but really just depends on where you are. You know how it is in the summertime. Your neighbor gets rain and you don't, and that's kind of what we're dealing with. Temperatures, 80 degrees in Greensboro right now, 79 in Winston-Salem, 83 in High Point and Lexington, Asheboro at 81, Burlington 82. Now look to the north. Most of the rain, and you can tell this by looking at the temperature map really, has been along our northern counties that border Virginia and our southern Virginia counties. So they're all in the 70s while everybody else in the 80s. In fact, Albemarle to the south at 85 and Troy at 88. Looking at tonight's overnight low, that's 68 degrees. Some of you in the southern Piedmont maybe even 70. We'll still see a chance of storms even into the night, even though the radar's calmed down a little bit right now. 79 tomorrow. Yep, 79. We may not reach 80 degrees, except for the southern Piedmont. Mostly cloudy. We'll keep a 30% chance of late day showers in there. Here's what the radar looks like now. It was really busy earlier, now sort of fizzling down a little bit left over in Alamance County to the north and east of Burlington, moving by Mebane right now and heading toward Orange County and Hillsborough there. We still have the flash flood watch. That's for Wilkes and over toward Boone, Watauga County, Yadkin North. And that'll go until midnight tonight. And then flash flood warning, one remaining there. That's around the Danville area. That goes until 6 o'clock tonight. We'll have another update on the forecast coming up. So do you find yourself sometimes making up stories so you don't have to take personal responsibility for your actions?
We may do it without being conscious of the behavior, but Coach Lamont shares a story that shows all of the power of accepting responsibility for our actions in today's You Moment.
One night, 4 college students were out partying late until the night, and they failed to study for a test that was scheduled the next day. In the morning, they thought of a plan. They decided to douse themselves in motor oil and dirt, and they went to the dean explaining that they attended a wedding the night before and their tire blew out, leaving them stranded. They decided to push the car to safety, and they found themselves in this predicament until the morning. Of course, they were too tired to take the exam. They asked for more time, and the dean agreed, giving them 3 days to retake the test. On the 3rd day, the students arrived, only to be separated into different rooms. The dean gave them each a test. As each student turned over the test, they noticed that there was only one question: which tire blew out? Moral of the story is this: take personal responsibility the first time, and you'll never be questioned the second. This is Coach Lamont reminding you to have your best you day. I'll see you tomorrow.
Ooh, got him.
Man, I was listening to that and I was like, oh, I looked at Lauren and went, oh no.
Yeah, see, that was a clever one.
Smart way to do it. You know, we have, as a parent, you sometimes catch your kids when they try to, they start testing the waters a little bit. And one time I caught one of my kids in something and I said, well, buddy, you said this, and then right here it is, I proved it.
Yeah.
And he looked, and at first I could see do I keep going with this? And he goes, no, Dad.
stop.
And I went, buddy. And then he goes, okay.
Yeah, just stop while you're ahead. I think it's so important to just take responsibility of your wrongdoings, because it does create a sense of trust and respect with someone else. Because when I know someone's making excuses or blaming it on everybody else, I'm going to be like, But if you just own it, you know, you're human, I'll be like, oh, it's okay. I'll respect you much more for that.
It goes so much better if you just go to somebody and say, look, I messed this up, I'm going to fix it, but sorry about that. I mean, that's all you got to do, right? It's so easy.
Simple as that.
I am one who, when I was a little kid, I remember one time my mom caught me in something and I was like, never again.
Yeah, I don't like lying.
Oh, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, I just always have this weird feeling inside, so.
And no game face?
Yeah,
Can you not?
I start smiling, my dimple gets deeper and deeper. It just doesn't
My kids do that too, they smile when they're lying. I can tell right away. All right, 4:28, we're coming right back.
Well, welcome to your 4 to 5. I'm Lauren Coleman here with Amanda Ferguson, Jalen Gilkey, and Eric Chilton today. Everybody excited for the weekend?
Ready to go.
Elated. Excited is not even the right word.
Me too. Well, hopefully it's not a washout because, Eric, you are tracking some storms at this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. We're watching this closely as we head into the afternoon and evening. And look at this, the temperatures. And, you know, I mentioned this earlier. You can really tell by looking at temperatures exactly where we've been as far as the rain is concerned. You can tell to the north, you're looking at 70s. I mean, Reedsville at 71, Walnut Cove 77. But then you jump down not that far to the south, High Point at 84, Lexington 83, and Asheboro at 81. Burlington's at 82. So you get the idea who has seen the rain and who has not. Hour by hour into the evening, we still have a chance of an isolated thunderstorm, maybe even as late as up to 10 o'clock. And after that, we're going to see things change a little bit, maybe just a shower or two in the overnight. The problem with this is that we're just generally unsettled all across the region, so there's no rhyme or reason as to who gets the rain and who doesn't. Look at how it was earlier in the afternoon. Around 2 o'clock today, you can see it right there. Widespread thunderstorm activity. We had severe thunderstorm warnings in about 5 different counties, but now it's settled down a little bit. The last one that looks the least bit significant is this one moving toward the Elkin area. You can see that there. Yadkinville might get a little bit of that. We've noticed that as they come down off the mountains and into more of a foothill situation, they start to die down just a little bit. We'll watch that and let you know. There's still some flash flood situations we're watching. The flash flood watch is every county from Wilkes and Yadkin north and over into Virginia, and then that flash flood warning until 6 p.m. That's around the Danville area. And again, that flash flood watch goes until midnight tonight. Overall, you see that pattern again, generally unsettled, and muggy conditions are staying with us. Don't worry, we will see some breaks in this. The heat starts to go away and humidity as well, which is the most important thing. And we'll talk about that in just a minute.
All right, so I know that it is hot outside a lot when Eric Chilton is there. You might want to slide this way because I got Chilton in the middle
Hello.
and the fans on both sides. Are you feeling nice and cool?
This is perfect.
Is it? Yeah, inside is perfect, isn't it, Chilton?
Yeah, yes. It's a lot better than being out in that mugginess.
All right, you know, not everyone is a fan of the fan. Others can't sleep without a fan. Where do you all stand?
I need to hear that humming.
You do?
That humming sound. So
it's not even the blowing of the cool air, it's the humming.
Yeah. I like it on low.
You like it on low, okay.
I can sleep on the sun. It don't really make me no difference.
And that fan makes me stuffy, so I'm like, no thanks. All right, so this is a key point, though, to remember. Fans cool off people, not rooms.
Oh.
Which means when you leave, you need to turn off the fan because it ain't helping your house.
Really?
Really? Okay, so believe it or not, there are a few tricks to using a fan.
You want to hang your ceiling fan high. They work best when they're about 7 to 9 feet off the floor and ideally 10 to 12 inches off the ceiling. If you have really high ceilings, use a down rod to bring the fan to the right height.
All right, so let's take a look at this right here. The most popular fan size, right, is 52 inches. That's best for large rooms like up to 400 square feet. You can get by with a 42 to 44 inch fan in rooms that are a little smaller, like 144 to 225 square feet. If your room is kind of borderline, you want to opt for the larger fan and run it at a slower speed. All right, now your fan can help you with your power bill. We all know this. So the big AC question is, what temperature do you keep your house at right now?
Ooh.
Right now.
We got 2 guys and 2 girls weighing in,
I
Tandy.
know.
You know how that works.
Okay, so.
I keep mine on 70
What?
throughout the day.
Lauren.
I know.
Okay, all right.
That might be kind
I'm
of low.
68 throughout the year.
Throughout the year, no matter what.
All right.
Chilton?
If my wife weren't around, it would be on 70 or 68, but she likes it at about 72, 73.
Oh, that is a little toasty.
Yeah, I
My parents
agree.
go back and forth about the air too.
I got to tell you, when I sleep, it goes all the way down to like 67.
There you go.
I need like hotel room,
I understand.
cold.
Do
be
you
able
like to just
sleep.
bundle up in the covers? Is that why you like it so cold?
I'm just hot when I sleep, I guess. All right, so when you use your fan, you can actually raise the thermostat, get this, by 4 degrees and feel just as cool. That is a cost savings for sure, my friends. And 2 Wants to Know has one last housekeeping rule for you, and it's this: your fan is going to gather dust and pollen. So what you want to do to clean it is lay a sheet beneath the fan to protect your furniture and your floors, and then you want to wipe the blades using like a damp cloth and an all-purpose cleaner.
Great tips there. Well, let's get to your 4 to 5 roundup. McDonald's is the latest company hit by a data breach. Unauthorized activity on its network exposed personal data of some customers in South Korea and Taiwan. The company said it identified the problem and an investigation has been completed, and only customers in those countries were impacted. No customer payment was exposed. The company is working to inform any customers who were impacted, as well as regulators. And Guilford County Schools will once again offer its ACES after-school program at elementary schools. ACES is the After-School Care Enrichment Services program, which is not funded by the district's operating budget. The program returns in the fall, and all ACES staff will earn at least $15 an hour, and the cost to enroll a child will be $65 weekly. Families will also pay a rate of $20 per day if they choose to use ACES services on teacher workdays, but you won't have to pay the $50 deposit. All fees paid by families cover the cost to maintain the program. The district will reopen the program in the schools with the most interest and will consider adding programs in January. And Tokyo Olympic officials are still debating if fans should be allowed at venues. The Olympics begin on July 23rd and fans abroad are already banned. Tokyo is still under a state of emergency from the pandemic, but infections have slowed down recently. Health officials say they're leaning towards allowing a few fans. They say they are more worried about what fans will do after the event, such as going to bars and restaurants. And tomorrow marks 5 years since a shooting at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando. 49 people were killed at the nightclub during a Latin night. The shooter, Omar Mateen, legally purchased an assault weapon and handgun, which he used in the shooting. Mateen pledged allegiance to the Islamic State group during the shootout before he was shot and killed by police. The U.S. Senate passed a bill earlier this week designating the former club as a national memorial site. President Joe Biden is expected to sign the bill into law.
Many medical groups recommend cancer patients and survivors receive the COVID-19 vaccine, but there are some questions about the effectiveness of the shot for this group. CBS News' Laura Podesta takes us to a look at the study being conducted in Ohio to understand how the vaccine impacts these patients.
Dave Hill knows about quarantining. Even before the pandemic, the 63-year-old had to isolate after receiving intense chemotherapy and then a stem cell transplant for lymphoma.
I've been doing this since mid-2018, and I said, so if you think you're stir crazy, you should, be in my shoes.
The stakes got even higher when COVID hit.
There was an extremely high anxiety about any kind of infection. I just had to continue to be very diligent.
Cancer treatment can affect the immune system, which can leave patients susceptible to infections. Experts recommend most cancer patients and survivors receive the COVID-19 vaccine, but there are some unknowns.
There are some patients where we're not measuring as good an antibody response as what we would like to see. However, we have no idea whether or not that's still sufficiently protective. But there may very well be a subset of patients who need to get boosters more often. This is what we're trying to figure out.
Dr. Peter Shields is leading a study at the Ohio State University Comprehensive Cancer Center, enrolling vaccinated patients with and without cancer. Participants provide weekly saliva samples to test for COVID and blood samples to measure immune response.
I hope it protects me, and I hope it protects everybody else.
Dave is taking part in the research.
This is one thing that came in that allowed me to participate and pay back to those people who helped me and who are helping others.
He's fully vaccinated, in remission, and grateful. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
Cruise ship lines fighting to set sail after 15 months are facing a new wave of obstacles. Texas and Florida will not allow cruises to require sailors to be vaccinated in order to board the ship. Is a key part of the CDC's recommendation for cruising. Under CDC guidelines, cruise ships can either run a simulated voyage or require at least 95% of both crew and passengers to be fully vaccinated. Florida filed a lawsuit against the CDC for the requirement, saying it could hurt the state's biggest industry. Cruises are preparing to sail in July.
We spoke with the travel agent about what cruises will look like once they're able to set sail. You can find her answers to your questions on our website under the Who Wants to Know section.
And the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office has a new team member. Meet K-9 Deputy Hondo, a 2-year-old chocolate lab. Hondo is trained in firearms and ammunition. He's the only K-9 deputy locally to detect firearms. Hondo and his handler, Deputy T.G. Justice, are assigned as school resource officers in Forsyth County.
With the increase in gun violence that we're seeing, especially within our young people here within the county and in our city, we want to make sure they have an opportunity to go to school, feel safe while they're at school, and be able to have the opportunity to earn the education that they deserve.
Hondo and Deputy T.G. Justice work around school buildings during the day and cover extracurricular events to keep schools safe. Deputy T.G. Justice explains how Deputy Hondo shows him if there's a firearm nearby.
Hondo is able to work in two separate capacities. One is the traditional setting where he would be in classrooms, around backpacks, vehicles. He's a passive alert dog, so he's trained primarily to sit, down, stay. He'll actually look at what he's sniffed or what he's indicating on. In a person-born role, he's able to detect moving odors, so odors falling off of an individual and trail those odors back to their source. In that, there's a lot of body language cues that Hondo has, and we look for the totality of those cues in order to verify that an individual has or has been in possession of a firearm.
Deputy Hondo trained in Jackson Springs for 6 weeks. Now he trains weekly with Deputy T.G. Justice. They're both already working in many high schools. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
NIL, or name, image, and likeness rights for college athletes, are back in the news this week after a Senate hearing on those rights took place on Wednesday. WFMY News 2's Sean Higgins looks into what NIL rights would mean for college sports and why there's a recent push to get federal legislation.
At this point, this is not an issue the NCAA or individual states can fix.
Mark Few is the head coach of the men's basketball program at Gonzaga University, and he, along with NCAA President Dr. Mark Emmert, provided testimony to the Senate Committee of Commerce on NIL rights for college athletes.
There's an urgent need for federal legislative solutions so that we may provide all student athletes with a broad NIL opportunity and a fair system of participation and competition.
The urgent need Dr. Emmerich is referring to are the NIL laws that will go into effect in 5 states starting July 1st. Athletes at universities in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, and New Mexico will be able to profit off their name with endorsement deals, autographs, or social media accounts. This could create a competitive disadvantage for universities located outside of those 5 states.
To not have the ability to compete on some sort of level playing field with people that can provide, monetary gifts or endorsements or things like that would put us in a disadvantage that we couldn't make up.
The lack of federal legislation could also create legal issues for international athletes and their visas and for the NCAA, as current and former players may sue the institution for not allowing them to have NIL rights. With so many complicating factors, the likelihood of a comprehensive federal law being passed before July 1st is unlikely. But one thing is for sure, with or without a uniform standard, the conversation about NIL rights for college athletes isn't going anywhere.
Well, now that you've opened the door, and we were just talking about if there's only a handful of states, I mean, and it's handled state by state, I think that I don't see a problem with any athlete doing this at the college level. I really don't. I think that, how does that affect the game negatively? In my opinion, it does not. That's just a way that they can make money off their skills, and I don't see a problem with that.
I just think it needs to be every state,
I
not
agree.
just those 5 or 6 states, because then they're going to have an upper hand on everybody else.
It's just going to cause more questions and drama.
You're absolutely right. And Amanda, you hit it right on the money. And that's why those states did pass the law for NIL to be a thing and for these kids to be able to profit off their names so they can get ahead, and they have that advantage in recruiting as well as in recruiting. So
Well,
that's really the main issue here, is trying to get the other states incorporated.
You said during the break or during the story when we were talking, most of those states are SEC schools?
Yeah, most of them are. And because they see this coming down the pike, that's why they passed the legislation for this to be a thing, and so they can try to have a vice grip kind of on the recruiting. And so the other states like California and Texas and the other larger states have to pass this so they can catch back up.
I feel like we've been talking about this topic for
Long time.
years.
Yes, absolutely. Not going anywhere, right. Clearly. Sean said it himself. All right, we aren't either. We have a few more minutes. Stay right there.
If you have a question or idea, there's probably an app for that, but when all those apps start draining your phone batteries, what's the point of even having them? Here are some apps stealing juice from your phone that you probably didn't even realize were a problem.
Some of the top apps that are using the most battery life are the ones people would use the most.
It's probably not a huge surprise that apps like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and YouTube are zapping the life out of your phone battery. But for all the single ladies and gents out there, swiping right and left is more than just emotionally draining.
So Tinder, Bumble, Grindr, those are all using a lot of battery life.
Sucking up space? There's an app for that. Actually, there's lots of apps like that. Things like maps and travel and fitness apps.
Lyft, Uber, those definitely take up a lot of space on your phone too. They have to integrate with a lot of other apps. They're integrating with maps. They're looking for your location. These are memory hog sort of apps.
One big reason? Permissions. That means you're allowing those apps to do work in the background, even when you're not using them.
You might say they have access to your camera, to your microphone. Those will all be draining your battery, so you can reduce some of that usage.
Go into your phone settings and click on Battery. You can see which apps are using the most juice and then change the permissions.
You might want to say only turn on Uber looking for your location when you can say only when I'm using the app. So you don't want it constantly trying to find out where you are.
There's privacy value in that too, because you really don't want any app tracking your every move.
Oh, buddy.
That's some useful information. I feel like my phone is always dying.
Same. I went and checked, and Instagram was taking 20% of my battery, and then Facebook was 18%. So,
you know what I'm doing in the next couple minutes? I'm going to check.
Yeah, I got to get through the settings and turn some of those off, especially the network settings. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
It's the location stuff that really drains too. I know that. And she stole my line because I was thinking as the story was going on, I want to talk about how you click on only use the location while the app is in use. And she mentioned that because that drained mine really badly. And when I looked at my battery to see what it was doing, the usage chart, that's exactly what it was. Anything with GPS.
So have y'all noticed over the last few days, like when you open up an app, it'll pop up and it'll say, ask to track or not track?
Yeah, that's
So
new.
I've been saying like, don't track, don't track, don't track. So hopefully that will help my battery because I don't want to be tracked.
You know, I look forward to on Sundays is getting that screen time report that lets you know how much screen time you use. I try to make sure I've cut down from the week before. So
good idea.
Yeah.
That is.
You look forward to it, Jalen.
I do. It's the highlight of my weekend.
I'm not sure what that says. I love that. All right, let's talk about our forecast. That's okay, Jalen. I'm with you. There are lots of little things that I look forward to that my wife rolls her eyes at. Here's what we're seeing as far as the rain goes right now. Across the region, most of this now early in the afternoon, 2 to 3 o'clock-ish, we were lit up here with showers and thunderstorms and some lightning strikes, but now sort of dying down a little bit. Still, this one we're watching going just to the south of Elkin, and it's between North Wilkesboro and Elkin and hanging in there a little bit, but gradually losing some steam. Don't forget, we still have the flash flood warning around Danville. That's until 6 p.m. tonight, so only about an hour or so with that. But the flash flood watch for all of these counties in Northwest Piedmont and our Southern Virginia counties, that runs until midnight tonight. 7-day forecast showing only a slight chance tomorrow and 79. How about that for a cool high? Once we get to Sunday, we only have a slight rain chance, and that's every single day, only a 20%. Highs in the upper 80s, close to 90 Monday, Tuesday, low to mid 80s the rest of the week.
And make people sick. The CDC says you should stay out of the water if you are sick.
This is a mic check. I'm going from 17 to 14, correct? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Trying to juggle. Hey, we are talking about splash pads. There was an unfortunate incident.
All right, it's time for me to complain. It is Complain Friday. Sorry, people. Here's what I'm talking about. Driving. Pet peeves of the roadways. What are your big ones? I can't stand it when you're trying to pass somebody and all of a sudden they speed up because they realize they're going too slow, and then it's like turn 4 in the Brickyard. No, it's not a NASCAR race, not an Indy race. Slow down, let me pass. I'm in the passing lane. But the one that gets me more than any of them, people that don't use turn signals. Whether they're changing lanes or turning, you use a turn signal. That's what you do. I read this survey from the Society of Automotive Engineers. It was from back in 2012, a while back, but still it's valid. They said nearly 48% of accidents in the country are because people don't use a turn signal. They're either changing lanes and say, whoop, well, here I go, or they're going to turn but don't use their turn signal, so they're slowing down and somebody rams into the back of them. The turn signal is there for a reason. Now, another complaint are the people that leave the turn signal on forever. Constantly. I'm driving down the road, I call it perma-turn. They're in perma-turn, they won't turn. There have been times I've actually gotten in the passing lane and went up to somebody and said, your turn signal's on. I know it's obnoxious, but I have to do it for their own safety, because then you just look like a silly person driving down the road. So the bottom line is, use the turn signal when you're supposed to, and when you're not, don't leave it on for your whole trip. It annoys the people behind you. I'm sorry. It's the weekend, I'll take a deep breath and calm down. That's just my 2 cents, and that's your 4 to 5. WFMY News 2 at 5 starts now.
Splash pad scrutiny. Concerned parents reached out to WFMY News 2 after they say their kids were burned from a